Good morning, everyone, and good morning, ambassadors. I was informed that we have a very limited time for this for this open forum, but I hope we can get as much information as possible, and hopefully we also have time for questions from our participants later on. Some of the questions we prepared, you've actually answered in your presentations already. But allow me to ask about the presentation made by Admiral Suarez and Celine earlier. Because in the joint policy brief that was earlier presented, there was a proposal to enhance maritime cooperation between France and the Philippines. So as maritime nations and like-minded partners in the Indo-Pacific, do you foresee potential for an overarching joint maritime cooperation in the region? Because while there are existing partnerships among bilateral partnerships among countries, would a comprehensive, inclusive initiative involving all parties be a valuable and even feasible step? Do you see that happening? All of us working together. Who wants to answer first?
We start from the south.
Okay, we start from the south. Okay, Dr. Moya.
Thank you. So what I would say is that we already have this. We already have UNCLOS, and UNCLOS is the foundation of international law and all maritime activities in the Indo-Pacific, and indeed the whole world. That's the most important foundation that we're working with. That is the inclusive forum that brings all partners together. In addition, in this region, ASEAN is the center point. Excuse me. ASEAN already has existing rules and norms to govern this kind of activity in the maritime space. And ASEAN also means the East Asia Forum and the ASEAN Regional Forum, which also brings in a number of partners. And I think it's really important to emphasize that these forums already exist. We're not going to create different new kinds of ideas when we already have these rules that we're really trying so hard to uphold. But to the extent to which new partnerships, new networks contribute to those, reinforce those existing mechanisms, then absolutely we welcome as much partnership and cooperation as possible.
Especially in the conduct of military exercises, perhaps, maybe are you open to doing that with several other countries?
Yes, definitely. That's already happening through these maritime cooperative activities that include many partners. We started with 3 or 4 at a time, but if other countries are interested in joining these activities, and if they share our goals in terms of regional peace, security, prosperity, and stability, then we would welcome their interest.
How about you, Ambassador?
Yes. I think that as our previous speaker has mentioned, that we already have a lot of modalities in place in which we are trying also to only to implement. But I agree that there has to be a more detailed operational implementation, and that would not only breaking down of the one that is over the other, but it would also distribute and lead to efficient usage of resources. And with that, I think more of a, let's say, a sort of a special working group, a special or more of a team sort of, or in special or specific dimensions would help to really break down all the what is already, and which one is what do you call it, is also already implied on other modalities that we have. So more of the specialized or theme-based cooperation maybe in the field of technicalities and especially in capacity building. Yes, thank
All
you.
right. Ambassador Lai.
So thank you, and I think that as I mentioned before, maritime cooperation should not only happen within bilateral frameworks, but also regional and international frameworks. And regional and international cooperation in maritime security can be a little bit slower than bilateral frameworks, but that will happen, and we should expect for more regional and international maritime cooperation. And I also agree with Dr. Collett about the ASEAN centrality in different areas of cooperation, including the maritime security. And I think that within ASEAN countries we have a shared vision on how things are going, including the ASEAN maritime outlook. So I think that it takes time, but certainly we implement the outlook to have specific maritime security cooperation programs or activities, especially in the area of Coast Guard cooperation. Yes.
All right. And also, since we're talking about France and the Philippines, so considering the robust maritime cooperation between the France and the Philippines, as presented earlier by Admiral Suarez, what added value or strategic advantages do you think can your nations offer to further enhance the overall maritime security in the region, especially considering the different challenges that you also mentioned earlier that we've been facing in the past years?
Again from the south.
Sure. So we are looking to just further ramp up our cooperation in the maritime domain. And so that includes, as I mentioned earlier, that we're going to be doubling our maritime program here in the Philippines. And that covers a whole range of things, from vessel sustainment to provision of equipment. It also includes law of the sea training, as I mentioned, and also work that we're doing on environmental issues like coral reef restoration. And then when you turn to defense cooperation, we are looking to do more training, more exercises, more maritime corporate activities. And I expect to also see, as we were saying before, more multilateral cooperation. So particularly for Australia with the US, Japan, and the Philippines, I think that'll be a very important partnership moving forward. But we will look to include other partnerships as well.
Including France. All right, Ambassador. Yes,
Yes, as we know, each nation or each state has its strengths and weaknesses. And with the cooperation and collaboration, we can put that together and synergize of the maybe specialties owned by each nation and states. And also with that, of course, as I've mentioned, there is that challenge of interoperabilities in which we have to establish, and the establishment of such quality can only be reached by high frequency of interaction between the states concerned. Thank you.
Ambassador Lai.
For me, maritime security cooperation can reach, certain extent among specific nations and within certain bilateral or multilateral relationship among nations. But actually, there are a lot of difficulties until now, and not mentioning, like mutual trust or the different capabilities between nations. So I think that one of the important things that we should pay more attention to is information sharing. And by promoting information sharing, we can, enhance not only mutual trust and respect, but also, the better understanding of each other's demand and capabilities in order to promote further cooperation. And I think that some people may have the similar thinking, as I witnessed that the Philippines just set up the AFP Intelligence Command, maybe also with the same purpose. Yeah, I'm not sure. I look forward to understanding more about that from Filipino partners. Thank you.
All right. Maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Okay, I see a hand. Do you have a question? Okay, I see one there. Maybe you can introduce yourself, name and organization, please.
So good day, I am Robert Farrell from Office for Strategic Studies and Strategy Management, Armed Forces of the Philippines. I'm a research analyst. So my question is, what specific mechanisms and frameworks can be put into place to enhance regional collaboration on maritime security, particularly concerning transnational threats like piracy, illegal fishing, and maritime terrorism in Southeast Asia?
What framework can we put in place? Framework, sir.
Oh, framework.
Framework, yeah.
This is the beauty of sitting in the middle. We'll start from the north now.
Thank you. Now I know. And we certainly have a lot of good existing frameworks, but I think that given the new context of having more and more challenges internationally and regionally and limited resources, I think that we should focus more on certain frameworks that are effective. Among the bilateral frameworks, I think that we should enhance not only official conversation, but also track 1.5 dialogues among nations, not only within the region, but also between the regional countries and the international community. I hope that it helps. And certainly we should focus more on enhancing the existing ASEAN forums and trying to specify the ASEAN tracks in order to have more concrete ideas and activities. It is said that ASEAN is effective, but I think that we should make it more effective. And internationally, I think that we should think more about international forums, not only Shangri-La dialogue, but I think that we can think more about other forums that are more specific to addressing the maritime security in the region.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, we do not face shortage of frameworks. I think we have enough frameworks. The challenge is how to break down those frameworks into implementation or in operational concrete forms. And I think with that, we should look that, well, I represent the government, but if we look at the PowerPoints, it contains institutions at the operational level. Now, things have to start from the political level, and that we should be courageous to see that some of those challenges come from the political level, and that that is where we have to, although that we do not exist to influence the political decision, but political will amongst the nation for the start of a collaboration is very important to the South.
Yeah, I completely agree with what both of the ambassadors here have said. We already have so many existing frameworks to cover all of the topics that were mentioned. And the problem we face is that those existing frameworks are under threat. So we fought so hard to build these frameworks and to agree on norms and rules and ways of dealing with some of these challenges, that to then try to establish something new or different, I think is actually quite problematic. I would really like to see all the countries that are involved just invest in the existing frameworks and make them work as well as possible.
All right. Do we have more questions from the audience? Oh, we have one from the media. Okay.
I'm Aricel from Fuji TV. It's nice to know that diplomats support in our community, in ASEAN, community brothers support us through your messages. But we all know that the Philippines do not have a lot of support during ASEAN discussions and statements, especially on issues on South China Sea. My question is, how can we translate all of these message of support for a more impactful chairman statement on ASEAN summits, since we know that only a few countries have been, how do you call this, the aggressions coming from the Chinese. Okay.
All right. How do we go beyond the statements? How do we go beyond the statements? Because we've been hearing statements from different ASEAN countries, but sometimes it ends there. They're just statements. How can we... It's actually a question that I wanted to ask as well. How do you think cooperation among ASEAN states can be further elevated beyond just issuing statement of supports? Ambassador Agus is telling Ambassador Lai, do you want to start?
It's a very interesting question and difficult question. But actually, there are a lot of things to say in this situation. First of all, if you look at the joint statement of ASEAN leaders over the years, so you can see one very important thing that the substance related to the South China Sea in particular and maritime security in general has been better and better, and which is a very meaningful thing that ASEAN can do together. And it is not easy, actually, it is not easy. So I think that ASEAN countries always support, the nation that is the chairman of ASEAN, So I think that in general, ASEAN countries are working hard and closely with each other to make things better, and that's the first one. The second thing is that actual cooperation depends on a lot of things. Not only the complexity of the international relation or regional situation, but also the capabilities of every nation. And but among ASEAN countries, we are having a lot of specific programs and a lot of plans, and I'm sure that we need time and resources to implement those programs. And that's why international cooperation is very important, because within ASEAN countries we can understand about how much we can go together. But with our resources, a lot of plans cannot be implemented. So regional and international cooperation is very important in order to make the plans become doable with concrete achievements.
Yes, I just want to clarify or ask the question. Are the expectations that we place on ASEAN as a regional institution is in accordance with the working procedures or the the culture of decision-making processes in ASEAN, because sometimes we have an expectation that all regional institution or organization are all the same. Maybe we expect that ASEAN would be similar, like the decision-making process that we have in the European Union, in NATO, and that does not mean also that if ASEAN have a different culture of decision-making process, that nothing is being produced by the ASEAN institutions. And we should not forget also that the nations in the region in Southeast Asia have a very starkly different path of history of their past, in which that also marks as the way of how they establish and formulate their national interests and principles in the international relations. But again, we should not be pessimistic, and that ASEAN centrality is the principle that is adhered to by all ASEAN member states. And in diplomacy, we should not expect everything to be a quick fix, and that I think for Indonesia, again, Indonesia is stand ready, and for Indonesia, like in diplomacy, the motto is have time, will travel.
Yes, obviously not an ASEAN country, but an immediate neighbor. We share a maritime border with Indonesia. So what happens in ASEAN has a real impact on Australia. And what I would say is that ASEAN comes in for a lot of criticism, but I think what is often forgotten is that it is 10, perhaps soon to be 11, very distinct countries with very different histories, very different cultures, very different relationships that they have to, different challenges to be concerned about. They all come with their own interests, as every country does. So actually the extent to which ASEAN is able to come together and agree on some core principles, I think is actually really quite impressive. And we stand ready to continue to support ASEAN in that endeavor, because the idea of any kind of alternative, if ASEAN were to break apart, if it could not come together and agree on those principles, is a much scarier region. So we continue to support ASEAN to do its best to agree on these key principles and act in support of them.
If I had something that I remember, if you would like to see what have been achieved by ASEAN, and for those who are skeptic about ASEAN, after the establishment of ASEAN, ASEAN has been able to establish the region as a region of peace, compared to the era before ASEAN was established. So that is also a result of the culture of decision making and the camaraderie amongst ASEAN member states, although not in the same way, in the same procedure, in the same form. Like for instance, in the African regional organization, they are very progressive, but of course they have very different culture. So that can be reminded to see that ASEAN has a function to bring peace and stability in the region.
And on that note, we would like to thank our ambassadors, Dr. Moya, Ambassador Agus, and Ambassador Lai, for joining us this morning. Let's give them another round of applause, please. Thank you.